Welcome to the third episode of Shades of Red, White, and Blue. Because, Thad, there's nobody here to tell us what to do, and that's what we're going to call it.
We are. And you know what's weird is I think I just hit it to be a live stream. I don't know where it's live streaming at.
Oh, well, somebody out there is all of a sudden got some notification. They're like, what's going on? But anyway, yes, welcome to Shades of Red, White, and Blue, our third episode. Like, subscribe, give some reviews. We like those as well, positive or negative, because, again, we're just kind of starting this out, building toward the momentum that the World Cup is building. And speaking of that, Thad, I did it. I ordered a U.S. jersey.
Good for you. Which one?
That's the question, isn't it? Do I
The
go for the very plain blue one with the somewhat sparkly stars, or do I go with the more flamboyant red and white stripe? Thad, I'm gonna ask what you think I chose.
I think you went for the stripes.
I did. I did.
I I think they're both cool in their own way. So I
Yeah.
like that there's a stars and stripes. I do like the combination of them. I would like the stars to be a little more prominent. I would
Hmm.
like them to put out better photos of them. Did you buy how much did you buy real ones or replicas?
No, I bought the real deal. Yeah. So
So
won't tell you
you've
how
been
much it
saving up.
cost, but it will be delivered by Friday. So we'll
I
see.
mean, I would say there's no bank that needs to be looking for a shortage of cash, right? No,
I work at a bank. That don't go there.
I know. That's
You're
why
trying to get me fired.
I would vouch for you, Robert. I have very much faith in you.
So speaking of money, I have enough money to order a jersey, but apparently I don't have enough money to have milk in the house. So milk would have been very important to have tonight.
You having cereal for dinner?
No, my wife actually loves me and we work together and we make our own dinner, but very spicy, jalapeno,
Ah,
cilantro, some green onions, and I chopped it all up. And what you need milk for is to take that burn off your fingers before you take your contact lenses out, which I didn't have. So just before we got on the pod, took my contact lens out, and if my left eye is burning red, well, that's why.
okay. I learned a long time ago to make sure your hands were clean before you touch body parts after you chop jalapenos.
Yes, I
Uh,
knew this. I just didn't have any milk.
you can do it by washing really well, though. I mean, can't you?
I use cold water. I did that. Still not enough. Still not enough. Anyway,
I I did know somebody who went to the bathroom after chopping jalapenos, and they were very sad for a while.
I'm not going to ask the details on that.
But we had much humor in this. Okay, so this is supposed to be a U.S. national team pod,
Yes, let's talk about that,
not
shall we?
not a jalapeno regret pod.
Right, right. But yeah, let's talk about some things impacting the World Cup, building up to it here. Obviously, the situation over in the Middle East, Iran is talking about wanting to not delay their games. I'm sorry, relocate their games to Mexico, which you certainly can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
Um, so the thing about that is, though, is that would have a lot of implications to the host cities, to the whole plan, to the teams they're playing. So, Thad, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, whether you like what is going on or do not like what is going on, I think Iran has a valid concern and request to
Sure.
perhaps move them to Mexico or Canada. Quite honestly, either one I think would be fine. I don't know where their base camp is supposed to be. Have they announced that?
Not to my knowledge.
I think that might be even a bigger question right there than just the
Right.
games themselves. So I have not looked into that part of it. So I think that that's a fairly valid request in this whole thing. It's late in the game, but then again, they may not have had a lot of choice in this. So,
Right.
what do
From
you
the
think?
FIFA point of view, I think it's like, okay, we understand, but that's a lot of logistics that have to be changed. And the host cities for those games, the teams they're playing, I think are going to have legitimate complaints about it as well, because this has been in the planning stages for,
Yeah.
years. So understandable. I hope a compromise can be reached, but I think it's going to be a difficult thing to do to accommodate their wish.
Well, and I don't know specifically what they asked, but in my mind, it was put our games in Mexico, maybe move somebody's games that were there to the US, right? It was a swap, not a no games in the US
Hmm.
or some city losing games. I would thought it would be just two teams playing here, two teams playing there and swapping kind of thing. But maybe that's not what they were requesting, but I think that would be the simplest way to do it so that yes, you might end up with having two different teams playing at your stadium than you had before, but that's probably the lesser concern in some of this.
Yeah, I mean, that would impact even more sides than though doing that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult situation, one that we hope works out, the best way that it
Yeah.
needs to, and everybody's, at least somewhat happy with the situation.
Yeah, I do think that some guarantees need to be worked out that everything will be okay regardless
Yeah.
with FIFA and the US and Iran. So,
It gets into that idea that, the game is bigger than some things. This is a pretty big thing, that the game is trying to be bigger than. But I think when it comes to events like this, people do understand that the event itself and the idea of it,
yeah.
you know, I don't know if you want to call it friendliness of it, but the countries coming together idea of it can overcome any conflicts.
I would hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, Thad, I'm going to throw it to you for the next part here in segment one. That's a short segment one tonight because the main thing we're going to be talking about, of course, is the release of the U.S. men's national team roster. Mauricio Pochettino announced that on Tuesday. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, of course, and see how we did grade ourselves. But let's talk about the U.S. women first. Of course, She Believes Cup we talked about in detail last week. But
Yep.
NWSL started this week. We've had some maneuvering. We've had some players perform. So give us a brief rundown, Thad, of what happened this past weekend.
Well, I would like to say I was prepared for this, but I was not as prepared as I should have been. But NWSL started, and I know that some of the national team players played well. Two of the players in Kansas City that we're more familiar with, Ali Sentner scored and Croy Bethune both scored. Both two national team players. Ali had a really strong national team performance in the She Believes Cup, and she's kind of cementing her role into it. Claire Hutton, formerly of Kansas City, playing for Bay, a standout young star for the national team, had a really strong first game. One of the big stories, I think, is that some of the U.S. women's national team that has been moving to Europe are starting to look at coming back because of the different uh, pay structure, the high impact
Money
player
talks.
thing that the NWSL is doing now. So you can pay a player, a higher chunk of cash than any of the other players on the team. But Katarina Macario is coming back to the NWSL, and that was just announced this week, I think. So that's going to be we're going to see some movement in that regards. But right now, I think the NWSL just needs to get kicked off, and those players get into a groove because a couple of the games that I watched, neither team in either game that I watched was perfectly in tune in the whole game. So
Yeah.
that's the first game in the season though.
Well, Ali's goal, I mean, the defense, I mean, come on, you've got to put more pressure on her and not let her go across your box just so, willingly and without, yeah. So it's like, come on, guys.
I heard some people saying like how it was so spectacular, such a golazo. Did you see it that way, or was it a good
Well, it
run
was the
across the
cleverness
box?
of it to cut it back to where she did, that sharp angle. But yeah, I mean, defense, come on.
Yeah, they definitely could. And this again, that was a game of two different halves.
Right.
Utah was the better team in the first half, and Kansas City was definitely the better team in the second half.
Okay. All right. Well, we said a short segment one, and I believe we have gone through everything we're going to go through. We're going to go into segment two. We're going to talk about the weekend review, and we've been focusing on the midfield with Diego Gutierrez a couple of pods ago. And by the way, we did have someone lined up to be with us here tonight, Thad, but didn't work out. Hopefully next time. And then, like I said, we're going to focus on the backs and the weekend review in segment two.
Yep. We'll be right back.
Whether your business has 6 floors or 6 employees, Walmart Business has everything you need to save time, money, and hassle. You can restock your break room with bulk ordering or bulk up your ordering team with shared payments. And you can get it all delivered straight to your business's door, whether that's on Wall Street or Main Street. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
This episode is brought to you by Beneful. Dogs of the world, lend me your ears, snoots, and little toe beans. We've been sitting and staying for boring food for too long. It's time to demand high-quality ingredients, fresh from the pantry. Together with Beneful freshly prepared meals, we can start a mealtime revolution. Can I get a woof woof? Kick boring in the bowl with Beneful freshly prepared meals. Visit Purina.com/Beneful to shop now.
All right, we're back. Robert, you have your weekly update on U.S. men's national team players going. Tell us who did well, who did not.
Well, the headline is that about goals, indecision, and injury. So Balogun again scoring for AS Monaco in their 2-1 win. He is just red hot. He's been hot since the beginning of the year, which you love to see, of course.
Let's hope he's hot for the rest of the year.
Right. Sebastian Berhalter has scored his second goal for Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS season and adding 2 assists for good measure. So, of course, he's not, a prominent player at this point, but, we don't know. We'll hear from Mauricio Pochettino on a couple of things a little bit later on in this pod. But, good signs, of course. But then the other part, not so good. Tyler Adams said he felt something in training on Friday before their match, Bournemouth's match versus Burnley this weekend, and held himself out of the game. And I believe Pochettino said it's maybe 2 to 3 weeks, Thad,
Yes.
before he's back. So here we go again.
I don't know how many times I say this. Tyler Adams is one of the best players on the team when he's healthy. But I just feel like we need to always be looking for the replacement for Tyler Adams because he is so often injured. And I feel the same way about Serginho Dest.
Yeah. Who was not in camp because of injury as well. But we'll talk more about that later. But other news, Noah Kai Banks pulled himself out of selection.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about that later too. But he does have
I wanted to give a shout out to one of the followers on Twitter, is Thomas, but it's like at Smith of Snow, I think.
Right.
Did reply to us after the last pod saying, no, he's not going to be there because he's indecisive. He might join Germany, and he was absolutely right. So
well done.
Yeah. So I completely believed him, but then it was even more so. Announced in the
hit home
presser. So
slight injury for Banks as well, maybe some factor in that, but we'll see. But otherwise, let's see. Going down strikers here, not as hot as they had been, but all starting for the clubs, of course. Christian Pulisic is back full 90s playing for AC Milan, so that's good to see. Weston McKennie continuing. Tillman as well. Diego Luna got back on the pitch this past week, which was good to see for him. And Gio Reyna, of course, did not. Serginho Dest, as we mentioned earlier, is out for a little while, apparently injuring his hamstring. Tim Weah, Anthony Robinson, Arsene Freeman, Tolkien, all good. And, of course, we already talked about Mr. Adams. Then we have James Sand, who didn't travel with his club because due to an injury he suffered in a previous match. So that's another injury there. And then everybody else, I think, is in good health. And goalkeepers, though, a little concerning there when you're adding, I'm sorry, when you're giving up 6 goals when you play Vancouver Whitecaps, as Roman Celentano did. But apparently it didn't matter because he was called into camp.
Well, again, that's not a game that I watched.
Yeah.
I think you can have a goalkeeper give up a lot of goals and none of them be his fault. So I don't know if that
That's
was
true.
a bad play by him or just FC Cincinnati, embarrassing themselves totally. So we've seen that before where people can blame a keeper. You give up 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, but sometimes they don't have a chance on them. Sometimes you can have 3 saves like a keeper in town did here the other day and still give up a goal because his defense never helped him.
All right. So again, we talked to midfield a couple weeks ago. We talked strikers last week. We're going to look at backs now. And I wanted to highlight a couple of 3 guys, really. Let's start with Banks. We just did talk about him a little bit, but Pochettino in his conference that he had this week did have a few comments about Banks and his indecision. Thad, you want to kind of briefly run that down, what Pochettino said?
Um, well, briefly, yeah, he basically just said that he's a young guy. He has a decision to make. He's supportive of that. He's been supportive anytime anybody has, tried to decide which way they wanted to go. So I think he's been pretty fair about that and don't pressure him. He's played for like US U16s, 17s, 18s. I might be missing one of them in there or have one of them wrong, but he's played for youth teams several times already. I think he was called into a camp and didn't play. So he's been having a chance to be in the US camps. And if he's being courted by Germany, that's fine. I I always think that you stand a better chance of playing in a World Cup if you're a national team for US than Germany, but I don't know their back situation, so I could be wrong. But yeah, he just said he's talked to him. He's a young guy. He's got his make his decision.
He said something I thought was interesting. It's not about trying to convince him to
Yeah.
play for the US. It's about just supporting him, throughout the whole federation, making sure that he has what he needs and comfortable. And, that's probably the implication. That's going to be the convincing side of it. We're
Yeah.
here for you, whatever you need.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it is that they don't want to pressure somebody. They want it to
Yeah.
be a welcoming thing and not push somebody to join. And that's
Yeah,
what they're
sure.
doing.
Sure. Of course. Tim Weah, he was asked about, Pochettino was asked about Weah during the conference as well. And he's listed as a back. He's been playing, actually, he's listed as a forward, actually. My mistake, but on the release, but he's been playing more in the back for his club team. Um, and Pochettino talked about the soccer brain that Weah has, that he's really impressed by, and that players need to have that flexibility. And Weah can do just about anything. He can play that wide midfield position. He can play a wide wing back. He can play in the middle. He can play up as a forward. So that's how you make yourself valuable. That's how you make a World Cup roster, right?
It is. I mean, that's if you need some, if again, when you're playing in a game, you may need a forward to draw back and play more of a back position so you can bring another attacker on that has a little versatility, can do different things. And I think if you can play 2, 3 different spots, that makes you more valuable. Now, of course, you have to be good enough at least one of those to be a borderline starter, but or a regular off the bench kind of guy. And Way I think is good enough to play a couple of those spots.
Right. And you don't have to burn a substitution. Say you do need somebody to drop back or to move
Right.
forward, and he's your man. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody gets a stupid red card, you might need to play a different spot.
Don't curse us then. Anyway, um,
We've already done that.
Pochettino was asked about the most controversial figure in the back for the U.S., and that, of course, is Tim Ream. With Charlotte has not been off to a good start.
No.
Ream has looked average, if you will. And average as an MLS back is maybe lower than average because MLS isn't known for defense necessarily. But the question was from a Charlotte person was focusing all on Charlotte players, and he's like, "Okay." He first asked, "Is Tim your first choice at captain?" And
Yeah.
then Pochettino couldn't remember all the questions because the guy asked like 3 or 4 different questions, and he changed his question, the reporter did. "Okay, is he still, first choice, at center back?"
Pochettino don't like those kind of questions.
Right.
Um, he doesn't like having first choice players or guaranteed starters or that kind of mentality. And he's now this I don't know who the Charlotte guy was, so I'm not trying to bag on him in any way, shape, or form. But
Right.
Pochettino's done this in previous press conferences, and I think sometimes it's just that he didn't understand the English involved, and sometimes maybe he just wanted to make a point. And I think in this time he didn't really understand the original question because he admits that his English is not too good sometimes, and it's very entertaining to listen to him. But I think that was part of it, is he didn't really know what the original question was, and then he rephrased that in a poor way that doesn't go well with Pochettino. But there's no regular starters. There's no, it's whoever's the best. I don't remember exactly how he answered that, but it was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was mostly about, nobody could come in expecting this, expecting that. He did mention, and we're talking about some of this later too, so maybe we're kind of.
Right.
But anyway, he did mention, there's probably going to be some marketing things they're doing in Atlanta, and just because your picture is taken for that marketing doesn't mean that you're a shoe in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now,
sending
what
signals, sending signals.
I think that if anybody has watched Pochettino in the year and a half, close to 2 years, I forget how long exactly now, but
Yeah, the
watch
year
his
and a half.
camps
Yeah.
and the players he's brought in and the players that he's left off, he has been looking to have availability of different people, different skill sets. And when you have players, because if you always call in the exact same players and one of them's injured, Tyler Adams, Sergino Dest, you don't have that knowledge of how to play with people. So I welcome him doing that. I mean, we are getting down to crunch time of trying to figure out exactly who his best 26 is.
Hmm.
But at this point, I'm quite okay with all that. So, yes, I would not say any of those players are guaranteed starters. It's how you're playing, it's how you play in camp, how you play with other people around you, because we've mentioned this before. He doesn't want the best 26, he wants the right 26. And Tim Ream may not be the best center back, but he might be the right one to be anchor a couple of other guys who are faster because
All
he's
right.
he's he's experienced.
All right. So there are no locks. Okay. So who's your lock for center back on the U.S. men's national team for the World Cup?
Well, on the roster or starting?
Starting. Who's your lock? Because
Chris
there is one,
Richards.
right? Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. He's 35 caps. There aren't any other backs besides Robinson, who's not a center back, and obviously Tim Ream, who has 79 caps that are, really even close to that number. You've got Scally with 22. You've got Miles Robinson. He does have 38, but yeah, I mean he's the one that's the shoe in for sure. God forbid injuries, of course. But
Yeah.
after that, it's a little questionable. Um, McKenzie, I think, is certainly in that mix. You've got, of course, Ream, as we talked about, but I think Miles Robinson has really come on. He had
Yep.
injury, what, 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and he's really come back strong from that playing with Cincinnati. And I think he's been given great consideration. He scored
Was he
3
in that
goals.
Cincinnati group that gave up the 6 goals in front of Celatani?
He was. He was.
Okay. Just checking.
But he didn't play the whole match because they're saving for CONCACAF Champions Cup. They're
Yeah.
playing right now, I think, against Toluca. Anyway,
Ah.
so he's come back well, so I think he's gonna be a factor for sure. Anybody else who stands out to you in that, center back crew?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I was gonna make a joke when you said Tim Ream had 79. I was gonna say birthdays. Um,
No, only 39, I think.
no, again, I've been a guy who at times was a little bit of a Tim Ream hater, I have to admit. but I grew to like him and appreciate him, and I still don't. I just wish that we knew there was 3 better options and he was the 4th or 5th one. But I don't think we know that yet, so.
Okay, and then in our tracker here, and there's really nobody. Yeah, everybody was called in except for Banks, as we talked about. So pretty much nailed that. So good job. All right. Any closing thoughts on center backs?
No, this camp will probably tell us a lot. Two difficult games. Portugal and Belgium, right? Should be 2 difficult games, 2 good teams. I don't know where they're FIFA ranked at the moment, but they should be at least good challenges. I know that Pochettino did mention that when they played Uruguay and Paraguay, that he thought they played like Portugal, so that they have that type of talent, and that type of system or that type style of play. So Belgium will be a different challenge for him.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think the key thing with these guys is how they can progress the ball. If we're going to play a 3-4-2-1 like we are, these center backs need to be able to pick out, those 4 guys in front of them the best, or play that long ball over the top, or things like that. So I think distribution is going to be a key thing, obviously, besides the obvious, to handle the defensive side of things.
yeah, they might need to play defense once in a while.
Yeah, this isn't MLS. All right,
Man.
wide backs. Again, playing that 3-4-2-1, you've got kind of those 4, if that's what they're playing. You've got those 2 wide players in the 4 that really, obviously, are going to come back and support those 3 center backs as well. But Anthony Robinson back in favor with his club team right now, so he's certainly going to be a player there. Who else do we have out there? Alex Freeman, not getting a whole lot of time with Villarreal, but that's another thing that Pochettino talked about. He's not overly concerned about how much time you're getting with your club.
Yeah, one of the questions he was asked was about how do you balance that, how do you judge this? And he basically went on a fairly long thing saying that not everybody gets judged the same. Some players, we need to look at their talent and their ability and not how much time they're playing. And some you need to look at how they're playing and stuff like that. So basically, he basically said it's an art. If I remember correctly, I think it was actually what he said. This is an art. And I don't know if he added the "this is not science" part to it, but it's an art. So you try to figure it out, and there's not a one right exactly way that he's going to do it for all cases.
Exactly. All right. So thus ends segment 2. And segment 3, we're going to get into a little deeper dive on the roster that was chosen. We're going to hear some quotes from Pochettino about Weston McKennie and Gio Reyna, because Reyna is probably, again, the other most controversial choice here, if you will.
The other most? He is the most.
Okay, he is the most. I was talking about Reem. But anyway, and we'll see who was not called in and who maybe was a bit of a surprise to be called in.
All right. We'll be right back.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief and it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI, it's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings. Like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your 6th graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, granola, and bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
And we're back. Another long break. All right, so I don't even think we can compare Reem and Gio as being surprises. I mean, and controversial. I mean, I'm actually not surprised he called in Gio, even though I would not have probably done it myself. Although every once in a while I find myself thinking, I know he has so much ability. Why doesn't he get on the field? And you want that ability.
Yeah, you've got to wonder what's going on at his club, you know.
Yeah, but it's not this club. It's this club. It's the previous club.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
sometimes when he's with national team. It's
Yeah.
it's not just one thing, right? If it was just one thing, you could say, "Oh, this coach don't like." But it's not just one thing, so that's why.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about one more thing about that before we play the audio about Gio Reyna that Pochettino put out. So Pochettino said there's 10 new players in this camp. And the last camp they had, when they had the success, it was a good feel in camp. And that's what he's looking to see how players can adapt to that as well. Mentally, get along with everybody, have that everybody push in the right direction, the same direction.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a science to mix in and see how does Gio Reyna fit with this group, or how does this player fit with this group. It's not just about Gio, of course. So very interesting that chemistry that he's really focusing on and making sure that the ship is all pointed in the right direction, the same direction.
Yeah, but it's 10 different players from last camp, but it's not 10 new players.
Right.
It is all
But
players
he
who have
wants
been there
that
before.
same feel, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's part of how he's done this is that these 10 players have been in camp before.
Mhm.
And the 10 players that are not in camp this time are either gone because they're injury or, they're some other special situation. So that's what I think is he got a lot of criticisms for, well, you let Pulisic not play. You let this happen. You didn't call in Weston. You didn't do this. You got to have every single one of your best players in camp right now for the last 6 camps. But on the flip side of it is he's allowed new players to be in and to build those chemistries. And yes, there are going to be some differences. And I'm not going to say it's just going to be all smooth. But because they've been in camp with a lot of the same players, it's not a group of 26. It's a group of 40 some odd that have been in camp over the last year and a half. And they should all have at least that common thread. Is that fair?
But still a surprise that Gio was called in. So let's hear from Mauricio about Gio Reyna.
I think Gio was fantastic in November with us. I think everyone praised him in his game against Paraguay, and then in the way that he was involved and committed with the team and with the national team. I think he was. I was really happy with the aspect and the factor that he was involved. Before the last decision for the last roster for the World Cup, I think it's good to see players that maybe are not playing too much, like in that case of Gio, but that is very talented player, and we know how he can add to the national team. Is to see if he is affected about that and he is capable to perform with us again. I think we really know that he's a very special, talented, and very special player. And I think to give the possibility, even if it's not playing too much in his club, if can be very useful for us. That is our mindset in the way that we made the decision to bring Gio in this camp.
I want to say, because he has a lot of talent, he doesn't have to be getting regular playing time. But if you didn't have as much talent, you have to get regular playing time. Yeah.
I think maybe it's more, hey, he's clearly going to be a role player for us when we need that injection of creativity, when we need to break down a bunker, when we need to do that. I think that's pretty strongly the implication there.
I don't. It could be, yes. I'm not really arguing that, but it just kind of depends on how you look at it. Like, oh, he's really special, so he doesn't have to get playing time. But
Right, I get you.
Um,
Coaches
but
don't play favorites. That I mean, come on, man. You know that our daughters played soccer; they never played favorites.
yeah. But see, again, even when we've talked about, I wouldn't have called him in. I keep saying he has so much possible talent, but again, why does he not get on the field for his regular team? He's talented enough that he should be able to contribute for a lot of teams in this world, and he's not getting regular playing time.
I mean, similar-ish situation with Robinson, even though he's back in his club's good graces now, it seems. He was always going to be there.
Yeah, but he hasn't been not getting playing
Oh,
time for
I know.
a couple years. I mean,
Right, yeah,
Reyna's
exactly.
been even when he was in favor-ish, he would get 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, and then it just keep getting smaller, and then he was making the bench, and then he wouldn't make the bench, and then he would make the bench, and then he would not play. So
here's the question then. If you are, let me pull one out here. If you are Diego Luna or Brendan Aronson, and the final roster comes out and Gio Reyna's on it and you're not, are you like freaking pissed?
yes, no doubt. If you're any player that's not on that final roster, I mean, we've seen some really
Yeah,
good
but
players in the
particularly
past.
in this situation with Reyna's there and you're not.
We have, again, many times discussed that Reyna at his best is better than Luna at his best. True.
True.
I like Diego Luna. Again, guy's willing to get a broken nose and keep playing. He's got big ones, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I like Aronson. I think he's at times really, really good. But Reyna at his best is another level above either of those. Problem is, can you have Reyna at his best?
Mm-hmm.
Does Pochettino, and do you take that risk as Pochettino coach, as the coach of the national team, at a tournament where you could be in a really big game and need to score a goal to tie it up or to win, and you have Reyna sitting on the bench or you have Diego Luna sitting on the bench? Diego Luna is going to go out and give you 120%. Reyna could go out and be above that 120%, but might be pouting because he didn't get the start. I don't know. I mean, you've been a teacher, you've been a boss at work. Sometimes you have people that will give you something that others can't because they're so good at something. But then
Mm-hmm.
there's others who will just regularly show up and give you good work.
Yeah.
Which one
Yeah.
do you want in everyday situation? I wouldn't want Reyna if I'm coaching an MLS team.
Right.
If I can't start him, right? But Diego Luna, that guy's going to go out and fight every day, it seems like, from what I've seen of him.
So, I mean, just kind of an analogy to what you were saying in a situation. And again, it's obviously degrees lower, but, for example, there is a coach, club, boys and girls, but this is a specific reference to the team that my daughter was on. But I was never going to choose my daughter to take a PK because I knew that wasn't her thing.
Right.
Now, I would put her on the field because of things she can do on the field and probably give her more playing time than the girl that I always chose to be our first PK taker in a shootout if we had one. That girl didn't see the field as much, but she was always my first pick for PKs because I knew she would put it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So similar situation in a sense.
No, and I understand that. Like, I never coached my daughters from, when she was anything older than 6, right? Or whatever it was. But she had abilities that she was good at, and she was not good at certain things. And it always irritated me when coaches would put her in spots that she wasn't good at.
Yeah.
Now, there was a coach who put her in a spot that she wasn't good at because she had and I'll just say this. He played her at a right back. She's not a very good defender. She's not even all that fast. She can pass well.
Yeah.
But he saw that she could make one move and make a pass and very consistently do that. And he wanted to build out of the back. So she got the ball a lot. She made that move. She made a good solid pass almost every time, and sometimes really, really good passes. But if you were trying to defend a speedy winger coming down, somebody else had to fill in behind her because she was not that girl to be that defender.
So
sometimes
here
you
she's
accommodate.
playing again.
She is. She got called out of retirement to play co-ed indoor and scored 2 goals, got 2 assists so far. So 2 games.
So did the phone literally ring? She got called in. This is so and so.
Eventually, yes, but
Okay.
somebody asked me if my daughter still wanted to play, and I said probably. So, and I just put them in connection, and it's kind of fun going back out to watch indoor soccer. Kids play. Well, kids compared to me, but they're all adults.
Yeah. Well, back to what we're talking about. Probably the most fun player to watch for the U.S. National team right now, in my opinion, is probably Weston McKennie, right? I mean, the guy is Mr. Everything. He contributes strongly wherever he is on the field, whether he's playing attacking midfield or he's out wide, whether he's playing more of a holding midfielder role. The man can do it all. And Pochettino had a quote about him.
Yes, it's true that Juventus is Weston McKennie plus 10 players now, no? And we're so happy for that because that means that is an important player for Juventus.
We're going to have to keep this quote for a later point too. Yeah, so Weston and 10 other players is Juventus right now.
That is quite a compliment. Wow.
How pissed off do you think the other players on Juventus is right now if they've heard that quote?
I'm sure they haven't. They don't care. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Weston, love him. And I think he's going to be, I'm going to call it right now, he's going to score at least twice in the World Cup. So my prediction, write that in stone.
Okay. Take notes. Put that in the docs.
Yes.
And I'm not going to argue with you. I think you might be right. Again, once we get closer, I think we'll have to do some predictions on who will be the high scorer in the World Cup for us.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised that it is Weston. Get a couple goals and an assist or two and just be the best player. He has the potential to be the best player for the U.S. men's national team at the World Cup right now.
And there are rumors of him, I don't know, Man U courting him, I thought, maybe. Remember that, right?
I know I know there've been other people looking for him, but again, he's a guy who has had to fight for his time. He's went to different clubs and coaches were like, yeah, didn't play him or didn't want to start him or put him in different spots. And he kept just being willing to do anything and keeps getting better. Somebody named Reyna should probably look into that kind of mentality.
All right, so let's look at the MLS players that were called in. We've got Sebastian Berhalter, been in favor. I think he's just one of those players that really Pochettino likes because of just the way he goes about things. We also have Christian Roldan, which was not a surprise. Same situation with him, I believe. Those are midfielders from MLS, backs from MLS, defenders listed on the press release. Max Arston. Of course, Freeman, was MLS just a month ago, but Tim Ream, of course, from MLS, and then, of course, your goalkeepers. We have Matt Turner, Matt
You
Freese.
left Miles Robinson off.
Oh, I left Miles Robinson off, right, sorry. Thank you. Matt Turner, Matt Freese, Roman Celentano, and Chris Brady, all from MLS. Of course, Turner is on loan to New England for MLS, but anyway. Surprise there, obviously, Chris Brady. Being called in, first caps for him. First call in for him. Thoughts on any of those MLS players?
No, I mean, I think whenever we talk about this, it's Freeze and Turner are the guaranteed in. And And after that, Celentano would be mentioned, Schulte would be mentioned. Um, I think I don't know if we ever mentioned Brady or not, but that just doesn't really surprise me. And you always need that extra keeper that's in camp that can take shots to the face while the starters don't do the shooting practice.
There you go. Good point. Good point.
Again, I'm not trying to badmouth Chris Brady. I think it's the Mats or the two most likely starters at this point, and everybody else is there as a backup in case something happens.
Right, right. MLSers that did not get a call in, we can look at a little bit later. I don't think there really is anybody that stands out that didn't get a call besides those that are injured. And we do have quite a few injuries. I kind of went over that earlier, but Diego Luna being an MLS player who was injured, who wasn't called in related to that. Serginho Dest, I believe Pochettino said the issue was a quadricep. Tyler Adams, or was that the quadricep? Did I confuse those? I don't remember.
I think he said Serginho was quadricep, but he wasn't sure if he was pronouncing it right or if he had the right English
Yeah,
word for it.
yeah. And then Haji Wright also out due to injury, which is a bit of a new one that I didn't know about. So Wright, Luna, Destin, Adams, three of the four you would think are pretty significant. It depends where you think Wright sits in the forward pecking order, but some important guys here that very well could make the final roster.
Well, I mean, you sometimes have Haji right up there pretty high, don't you? Well, you have him listed as second most. In your opinion, second highest striker. So for the U.S. So yeah, it's a miss having him not in there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for the guy a little bit because the timing obviously not good, and I didn't even know that he was injured, so there's a bit of a surprise on that. So, but like he said, you're not called in here doesn't mean that you're not going to be called in later. An injury, of course, is going to complicate that. So,
yeah, he was very much asked about and somebody used Zendejas as a example.
Mm-hmm.
And, he hasn't been called in for a while. Is the door closed? And he's like, the door's never closed. Again, this is something I've heard almost every national team coach say in some way, shape, or form. The door's never closed because there might be injuries. Well, you're right.
Right.
There could be 4 injuries to starters, 4 injuries to strikers, and you have to go to your 5th, 6th, and 7th strikers on your list and call them in. So yes, the door's never closed. But the reality is if you haven't been called in for a couple camps at this point, I don't know how good Zendejas has been playing lately. I've liked him when he's been with the national team. So I would not mind him being in that mix, but he doesn't seem to be high enough on the pecking list. And this is just one example, but they have a fairly deep list of players. So yes, if you did have 3 injuries to strikers, you have your next 3 called up. But
So, anybody else that you're surprised by that wasn't called in?
no, not really. I mean, I think
Musa?
Musa. How's he been doing?
I don't have him on my tracker because he has not been called in. So I don't see him as a prime candidate. And that's, I think bore out through him not being called in here either.
True. When he's been good, he's been so good. But is he good enough to not be playing
He's
well
not
for his
special
club?
enough, apparently.
Right. His name isn't Gio.
But
Again,
who
we're
else?
kind of making fun of this, but it is just a weird situation because some coaches will say, if you're not playing for your national team, if you're not playing for your club team, you're not getting called up to your national team. Pochettino's like, we're just doing it however we feel like it. It's an art, not a science.
There you go. All right, so Patrick Schulte was not called in, Brady instead. So interesting because I've seen Schulte play, perform well, but he maybe just calling in somebody to get a different look. James Sands was not called in either. Not an MLS player, of course, but he's on our tracker and he was not called in. So that's one news bit. But who was called in besides Brady? That was a bit of a surprise, perhaps.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me.
Johnny Cardoso, Atletico Madrid. Surprise or no?
I don't want to say surprised because again, I think he has looked like he fit in when he's played for the national team, but not the best one by any means. But have not seen him playing for Atletico Madrid. So
Yeah, I mean, he's in that area of defensive holding midfielder where there is so much competition.
yeah,
Tyler Adams, Tanner Tessman, Aiden Morris, James Sands, who did not get called in, Roldan, Berhalter. Timmy Tillman with LAFC did not get called in, which wasn't a terrible surprise. But there is so much competition in that part of the field.
there is, and so many guys who can play multiple different positions and can be versatile. So, is it? It's probably Morris that's behind Tyler or could play that role
Mm-hmm.
for that holding mid. But Cardoso is at least has a valid argument to be included at this point. But so
Well,
maybe that's just maybe you're just seeing how they are.
well, when your club just beat Tottenham Hotspur to get in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and that's definitely a feather in your cap, and you're an important part of that.
True.
Yeah. All right. So how did we do, Thad? How did we do last week when we predicted the roster? We went there. Forwards, here's what we came up with. So I'm going to rattle them off. You tell us how we did. We called Balogun, right, Ajiman, and Pepe. So how did we do?
Hold on. God, get back to the list, man. Because what was called up was Aronson, Ajimong, Balogun, Pepe, Pulisic, and Weah.
And right, because was not called because he's injured. So
Right.
we can't be faulted for that, right?
No, we can't predict injuries. Well, unless it's Tyler Adams.
So we got all the forwards, right? I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, now the way they list it on the release is they have forwards together that includes like attacking midfielders. So Pulisic, McKennie, Tillman, and Aronson. How do we do there?
Well, Aronson and Pulisic and McKennie all called up. Who was the other one?
Malik
Tessman?
Tillman?
Malik Tillman, he was called up, yes.
4 for 4. Whew. We're hot, Thad. All right, let's look at, let's go to wing backs. So we got to look into defenders or midfielders at their list. So we said Weah, Robinson,
Yeah.
Arston, Freeman.
Yep.
And because Dest was injured, I threw in Tolkien. My fault. I'll take that one.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, he's a valid pick, man.
Okay, so we missed one there. Holding midfielders, we just talked about that area of the pitch. Adams, we said would be out because of injury. Okay, so Tessman.
Yep.
Roldan.
Yep.
Morris.
Yep.
Berhalter.
Yep.
Got that right as well. We eliminated Sands. We were right. We were thinking about it, but we were like, nah. So good call on our part.
Again, he's kind of one of those, edge. I don't want to say fringe, but he's in that zone of depends on who's playing well, who's hurt, who's not.
Yeah. Of course, we'll mention at this point that we missed Cardoso and we missed the goalkeeper, who name
How long has it been since
forgotten
Cardoso was called up, though?
What was that?
How long has it been since Cardoso was called up?
I did not look that up.
So I was thinking
center backs. What was that?
I was just trying to see if I could see real quick when the last time he played was.
Yeah. As you're doing that, I'll go through center backs. Richards called up, McKenzie called up, Reen called up, Robinson called up. We put Mr. Banks in there. Didn't happen.
Well, can't help he's indecisive.
And slightly injured. So that's 2 we've missed so far. 4 if you count the 2 called in. Freeze, Turner, and Schulte at goalkeeper. Obviously, we missed that as we've already talked about. I'm surprised that Celentano was called in. I really am.
So it looks like Cardoso was in the June camp. He played against Turkey, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, and Haiti.
So I think we did okay. We were in the 80th percentile area, so B range. not bad. And again, some of these injuries, not really a whole lot we could do about.
We cannot predict injuries.
But I tell you what, this camp coming up, these games that we're playing, gonna be so critical, in my opinion, just to help make those final decisions. We kind of know what Pochettino is thinking. Um, like you said, it's an art, but we have to compete in these games. We can't
Yeah.
go out there and you know throw out and what was it, Japan and whoever we played that we just did not look competitive at all. It's got to be looking like the team that's going to play in the World Cup.
Well, trying to let me pull this back up. The last few games, 5-1 over Uruguay, 2-1 over Paraguay, 2-1 over Australia, 1-1 versus Ecuador, 2-0 over Japan, and 2-0 loss versus Korea.
That's where it was, the Korea one, yeah.
Yeah,
But Japan
so
was a bit of a recovery from that, yeah.
out of the last 6 games, it's 3 wins or 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Not terrible, and again, none of those teams are slackers. I mean, Australia is not sometimes not the highest, I think, but not too bad. Prior to that, though, was a 2-1 loss to Mexico, 2-1 win versus Guatemala, 2-2 draw versus Costa Rica. So there's been results against some decent teams. There's also been some not good results, but so we just need to see that again. We need to see a win against Belgium or Portugal and a draw against Belgium or Portugal at least. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is what's been inconsistent in those performances is, the drive, the intensity. That's got to be there. That'd be very worrisome if we're going out and we're lackluster and we're not, working as hard as we maybe should be, et cetera. So I think that's probably the biggest question.
Which of those games do you think they didn't? Was it just the Korea loss, do you think?
That was a big talking point during both of those matches, even though we came back and beat Japan there. It was just that the energy wasn't there, which is like, okay, the World Cup's in about a year, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, like looking back at the lineup in against Korea, freezing goal, Dest, Freeman came on for Dest, Blackman, Ream, Arvston, Adams, Berhalter, Pulisic, Luna, Weah, Sargent. And then Japan, where they bounced back and got the 2-0 win, Freeze, Blackman, Richards, Ream, Freeman, Adams, Roldan, Arvston, Zendejas. Zendejas got a goal, Balogun got a goal, and Pulisic started. So a lot of those players are still going to be likely players in the World Cup. Well, I mean, Freeze, Richards, Ream, Freeman, perhaps Adams if he's healthy, Balogun, Pulisic. There's others that could be in there, Arvston, Roldan.
So next week, obviously, I think the focus will be talking more about, these 2 matches coming up and what we want to see. So look forward to that next week, Thad. Any parting thoughts for us?
I am just very interested to see how this goes. I'm potentially going to go down to Atlanta for 1 or 2 of those games.
That would be awesome.
Have to see how this turns out because I decided yesterday that I was going to try to do it. So
it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Want to go on a long drive with me?
If work allowed, life allowed. So just a little side tidbit. I am gonna get to be like in the locker room and on the pitch for games here in Kansas City in my volunteer role. So,
do you know how many of those, or like, is it all of them?
Well, you have to do at least 6 shifts, I think, and one of their 6 games. But there are different types of roles. There's only 15 people in that group that gets to do what I get to do. So we're a select few, small but mighty group. So yeah, we'll have to talk more about that later.
That's very cool. And what will be really cool is what you can say after the World Cup. because I'm sure you can't talk during
After, yes, not during. Probably not even after.
Well, some of it, yes. Some maybe yes, just like
Yes.
a cool moment or two. Can't. Yeah, I don't know if you have to sign an NDA or anything, but you don't want to betray some
Oh, God,
weird
no.
things or something.
They would not have chosen me if they thought that was even a thought.
No, I know you better than that, so I know you wouldn't do that.
All right. Well, hey, exciting stuff. And, let's just get there, huh?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words?
We could do the USA thing, but that's just not us.
No, I think we're out.
We're the red and the white and the blue, and we're coming for you. We'll take on the world and we'll take you too. So stay standing tall, proud and true. We're the loud and the proud. 90 minutes rowdy in the crowd. The Yanks are here and we ain't going nowhere. So stand up and fight if you dare. Over there, send the word over there. And the Yanks are coming, the drums rolling everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there. We're the red and the white and the blue, and we're coming for you. We'll take on the world and we'll take you too. So stay standing tall, proud and true.